everybody. Welcome to Less of Me Success Stories. I'm Robyn, and if you remember, last week we had an episode, and we were supposed to do this every other week, but we're doing a special episode this week to account for my schedule. I'm going out of town next week, and it turns out that my co-host, Scott King, got called in to do an adventure with his family this weekend, so he's not joining us today. So I'm flying solo, and I hope that you can give me a little grace while I work this out. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. Please, while you're logging on, share us on your socials and invite other people to join us. We really appreciate having guests join us in the chat so that you can ask questions to the person that I'm hosting today. I also want to remind you that neither myself, Scott, who's not here, or my guests are medical professionals. So we really cannot answer medical questions. And if you do have any desire to change your dietary habits, to please work with your own medical team before making any changes. That said, let me tell you about our guest. We are called Less of Me Success Stories because we want to share a space for people to share what they've achieved when they've changed their diet. Tonight's guest is a little bit different. He's changed his diet, but he's my success story. I'm already emotional talking about it. My dad. I've watched him watch other people in our family who have had issues with their health, and I've watched him struggle with what he should do to make his health better. And it was a long, hard struggle because he has me and my husband, and here we are rolling right along with how we eat. And he had to come to terms on his own with how he was going to proceed. And it made him change a lot about what he thought he knew and where he was going. And so anyway, I'm very emotional. Tonight, I would like to welcome Rob Harris, my dad. Hi, Dad. Welcome.
Hello. Hello, Miss Robyn. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Well, what I usually do is just turn this over to our guests to tell their stories. And so tonight is a little bit different because I have to listen, take notes, and look at the chat. So you might see me, but I'm listening to you, and you might see me looking in two different areas. But please go ahead, start and tell us about your journey.
Sure. Well, in my initial reasoning for adopting an NSNG lifestyle was it did not have anything to do with weight loss. As a consequence of what I did, I've lost 55 pounds. But I was trying to become metabolically healthy. And, it turns out that those two things work together. I've had some influences in my life that led me to this thinking. And the first one was my father. He died when I was 20. He was 44 years old, and he died from his third heart attack, having his first one at age 32. And when I got to around 32, I said, this is not going to happen to me. And I started exercising like crazy. And I was an avid runner, and I lifted weights. I did all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to do the things he did. He was a heavy smoker. He was overweight. I didn't want to be that. So, that had a pretty profound influence on me. And so the second person that was an extreme influence was, and I get a little emotional about this, is my younger brother. He was a metabolic train wreck, and great guy. He was a fabulous guy. It was a lot of fun to be around, and we were best friends. But he developed diabetes in his 20s and then chose to ignore it. And that decision, and I understand why he made the decision, and I get that, but it left him with a lifetime of complications and a steadily degrading health situation for him. He had a ringside seat to that, and I was there for him, and I took him to his appointments and to his surgeries and those kinds of things, and it had a pretty profound impact on me. He had multiple coronary problems with stents, too many stents to mention, and he wound up having a quadruple bypass. And as a result of the quadruple bypass, he went into kidney failure. So he left the hospital and immediately started being on dialysis. So he started looking for a kidney donor, and I stepped up to say, let me see if I can match. And it turned out that I was a perfect match. And the doctor said, you know, we see this in twins, we don't see it in siblings. So I donated a kidney to him, and he lived 7 years dialysis free. But unfortunately for him, he developed a cancer and was brought on by smoking and his lifestyle. And he succumbed to that. He was 65 years old. So it was, that was tough. You know, that was tough. And I still miss him. So let me back up a little bit. When I was younger, being healthy was easy for me. I was in the Army for 26 years, and physical fitness is a condition of employment. You're either fit or you're out. And so I did all the things I needed to do. I lifted weights. I ran everywhere I went. I was a role model for troops that were a lot younger than me. And I think at the time I was the only non-smoker in the Army. So, you know, I got exposed to smoke a lot in my life. My parents were smokers, and my brother and sister were smokers, and then I spent all that time in the Army around all these other smokers. But you know, it was easy to do. I could run with the best of them. I could exercise with the best of them, and I led those troops because I was a pretty senior position. After 26 years, I started a second career, and things were going pretty well. I mean, life was good. I was still running. I was still exercising. And then I was living in a condominium and got exposed to Aspergillus niger, otherwise known as black mold. And it developed a respiratory problem that I'm still being treated for today. And I had full-blown asthma and wound up in an emergency room with what they call an acute episode. And I got treated for it and got stabilized. They did a chest x-ray, and the doctor had an interesting conversation with me. He said, how long did you smoke before you quit? I said, well, I've never smoked in my life. What do you see that I should know about? And he, excuse me, he said, well, you may have never put a cigarette to your lips, but you've smoked a lot of them. You have the lungs of a recovered smoker or reformed smoker. And, you know, and that sticks with me now. I still have asthma. So if you hear me cough, I apologize. I still have it. I'm still being treated for it. But getting that made it very difficult for me to breathe at any time. So I stopped exercising. I was still lifting weights some, but I stopped my running. And it just, I started, you know, I was getting heavier. I started gaining weight. And I was struggling. My job had me on the road every week. So I was eating 12, 15 restaurant meals a week. And you can't control what you're putting in your mouth that very well. It was just a downward spiral. My weight blossomed to 204 pounds, and I'm only 5'6" tall. So I was as round as I was high. And said, you know, I probably need to do something about this. I knew that cognitively, but I chose not to do anything about it. I had some blood work done and said, well, your LDO is well over 200. We need to do something about that. So I got put on a statin. And then I had a triglyceride of over 400. I knew I had to do something. I said, you know, this is the stuff that killed my father, and I need to address this. So a friend of mine recommended I join a cardio-pulmonary rehab program that was run by a local hospital. And it worked out pretty well. I mean, I lost some weight. I was feeling better. I was exercising and I was medically supervised. It was a good environment to be in. It was a full gym, and I lost about 20 pounds in fairly short order. So it was a good thing. The program gave, advice on how to eat, how to live, how to properly do my weight training, that sort of thing. I even had talked to a nutritionist, but as it turns out, nutritionists, I think, are bound by a secret code or some kind of something, but they have to espouse the standard American diet. And, I was following that, but I was still eating my junk food. I ate a lot of, I grew up in an Italian household, so I ate a lot of pasta several times a week, and I ate cakes, and I ate pie, and I ate ice cream, and I ate a lot of ice cream. I like it. I was told to cut out eggs, cut out seafood, shellfish, all of that because my blood work numbers were wonky. And I wasn't disciplined enough or educated enough at the time to realize what I was doing to my body. While this was going on, and I was kind of starting my recovery here, my brother was having his problems. And when we found out that I was a match for him, it took about 10 months of testing for me to be able to be his donor. And everything was going pretty well. I mean, I was hitting all the marks that they were looking for, because they were trying to make sure that I was going to be able to survive on the other kidney. And so it was going pretty well. The only thing that was in the way of me donating was my cardiac numbers. And they had some concerns about my cardiac numbers and didn't want to put me in surgery with that. So they gave me some time to work on it. And while that was happening, I paid a visit to my cardiologist. And the conversation, part of it went like this. He said, "Do you eat ice cream?" "Well, yes, I do." "How much?" I said, "Well, I have a bowl every night." He said, "A serving or a bowl?" And I responded, "A bowl." He said, "Well, not anymore." "Do you eat the store-bought cakes and pies, like the Little Debbie cakes and all that stuff?" I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Not anymore." So he gave me my first lesson in reducing sugar in my diet. He said, "It's not the fat that's killing you, it's the sugar that's getting you." So I followed his advice. I lost a few more pounds. I went through with the transplant. That was fine. I have no regrets about that. None whatsoever. I would do it again if I could today. But it was just, I was just kind of trudging through life at that point. So we fast forward, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, and I have a third person who was really influential to me, and that was you. And I saw your incredible results of you dealing with your health issues through diet. And I could see that. And, and I was a part of that. And I was a part of it when it was bad. And I was a part of it as it got good. And it was, that was a big deal for me. And, you can't argue with the success that you have. But I could resist doing it myself, which I did pretty well. I didn't adopt the lifestyle yet. So when I retired the second time, my wife and I decided to move to Colorado, which we did. We love it here. We hike every day. The weather is great. It's easier for me to breathe out here because the air is drier. And, and we have grandchildren that live across the street. So that's sometimes good. It's sometimes we're a little too close, but we were settled in. And it was going pretty well. My wife needed a couple knee surgeries a year apart. And after 2 long recovery periods and months of rehab, she said to me, I'm going NSNG. And she contacted Robyn and got some tips and just jumped right into it. She said, I'm carrying too much weight on these rebuilt knees. I'm going to fix that. And she lost about 30 pounds. She looks great. She feels great. Life is good. Our daughter-in-law, who lives across the street, came over one day and said that the kids are eating too much sugar. And we would appreciate it if you could reduce what you give them. And to that we said, done, starting today. So at that moment, she left, and Susan, my wife, and I went through the refrigerator, and we went through the pantry, and we started reading labels, and anything that had sugar in it or high fructose corn syrup in it was gone. We filled the trash can. We decided, okay, we're committing to this. Let's do it. And it was great. That's when I adopted it, and it was great to have an accountability partner because my wife was involved in it, and she kept me on the straight and narrow, and she and I supported each other as we were going through this transition in our lives. The first few weeks were kind of tough. It's been talked about before. I'd have killed you for an M&M in the first couple of weeks. It was just, I was in withdrawal. Ice cream, man, I was craving it bad. But now it doesn't bother me anymore. She and I watched a bunch of documentaries. We listened to Vinnie. We went on podcasts. We educated ourselves and read books. We've got a ton of books here in our library about healthy eating and it's made a huge difference. And, so we committed to it. We kind of proselytize about it now to others. I think they're probably sick of hearing it, but you can look at us and see we did something. The results are visible. So that was about a year and a half ago. My weight is currently 150 pounds. I weighed 150 this morning. That's a total weight loss of 54 pounds for me from my max. My metabolic numbers are great. My LDL is normal. My HDL is normal. My triglycerides that were once 400 were now about 174 the last time I looked. My A1C is normal. All my numbers are good except my kidney numbers. And I only have 1 kidney. So the norms are based on people with 2 kidneys. So when I show up, it always looks like I'm in some kind of kidney failure. But I keep tabs up on it. I'm not fully carnivore like you. I am cautious. I eat meat. I eat lots of meat, but I mix it up, and I'm prone to gout because I have the 1 kidney. So it's very hard for me to regulate my my uric acid levels. But I'm working on that. It's one of the metabolic numbers that works out really well. So for the last couple of years, I've managed partly through diet, and partly I had to have some pharmacological intervention, as they call it. But I'm running around 4.8 to 5 now on uric acid level, and because anything under 6, the uric acid in your blood is liquid. At 6.1, it crystallizes, and if you've ever had gout, you never want it a second time. It is unbelievably painful. I went a little bit further overboard. Not only do we not eat sugar, not eat grain, I don't eat caffeine in any form. I don't eat chocolate. I don't drink caffeinated drinks. I don't drink soft drinks. I drink water and decaffeinated tea. That's by personal choice. We certainly cut out sucrose. I've never liked artificial sweeteners. I've missed bread. Being a good Italian boy like I am, it was a large staple in my diet, but I've cut that out. I will eat an apple sometimes, but I get protein from peanut butter, so I use the apple because it's better than eating peanut butter off a spoon. But my cravings for the sugar and stuff, are just, they're gone. I simply don't have them anymore. So that's a good thing. The results have exceeded my expectations. They're very visible. I mean, I'm a lot thinner. My mother thinks I'm too thin. But, my goal here is I want to live the rest of my years as healthfully as I can. That is my goal. And, my mother is 95 years old and still living independently and still has it. So, I might have a long future ahead of me. I want to be healthy. I saw my sister, excuse me. I saw my sister at Mother's Day, and she looked at me and went, "Wow, what did you do?" So Susan and I sat down with her and said, "Here's how we get started." And she has now lost over 50 pounds because she was trying to address pain from fibromyalgia. And it has made a significant difference in her as well, because she said, "You know what? I wake up in the morning now and I don't have the pain I used to have." And she said, "It's not as severe and it's not all over like it used to be. It's made a big difference." So I talk to her often and try to keep encouraging her. I think I'm her accountability partner, and she's doing phenomenally well, and she's just tickled with herself. I've come to believe throughout the course of this that food can be medicine and food can be poison. So we have to eat the right things. We have sugar and high fructose corn syrup are evil, and you got to avoid them. And they're in everything. When you start reading labels, and it's hidden in so many ways now, there's like 50 some names for sugar. And now we use date juice and we use this juice and that, and it just keeps showing up. We try to avoid that as best we can. Carbohydrates in general, we avoid. Despite what the standard American diet might tell you, we just don't do it. It's just, I think the standard American diet, I've come to believe that it's just misinformation. It was guided by special interests, as I've learned, and just don't believe it. They just don't believe it. So it takes a lot of perseverance. It takes some dedication. It takes some discipline to adopt a lifestyle. And excuse me, there are going to be people in your life while you're going through this who are going to be naysayers. They're going to sabotage your efforts. They're going to buy a box of donuts and prompt you to eat one. That's an inside joke for Robyn and me. And people are going to do things. They don't understand what you're doing. My mother wants to know what day of the week is my cheat day. I said, "Well, I don't cheat, Mom. I'm not on a diet. I have changed my overall diet." And it's a hard concept to understand for some people. And, they don't get it. So stay the course. You have to stay the course. I think we have to stay strong. I think most importantly, you have to have an accountability partner, whether it's a forum like this, whether it's a partner, somebody, but have somebody you can go to and talk to when you're feeling urges to slip or you have questions. I think that's really important, and it gets easier. It really does. Nobody fought the feeling about this any more than I fought the feeling about getting started with this. And I'm better for it now, and I intend to live my remaining years healthfully. So that's my story.
I think this is funny because I get my stubbornness and my strong-willedness very honestly. So this story right here is that in a nutshell. but you're watching two sides of the same thing. You're watching somebody do something that is completely against what you have been told by professionals is the appropriate thing to do. And then on the other side, you're watching Uncle Mike's health decline. You're watching, you know what happened with your father, and you know what path you're on for yourself. So you're playing this thing, and it's justifiably difficult to make that decision and to change that. It's a complete turnaround in a way of thinking.
It is, and it was, but for me, the good part of seeing what my father went through and what my brother went through was I could choose not to go down the same path, and I have made that choice. So.
And I'm very happy about that. So we actually have some questions already coming in the chat. So everyone who's watching, thank you for being here. Continue to ask questions. We're gonna go Q&A for a little while if you're ready for it, Dad.
I'm ready.
All right. So, first, when you were talking about ice cream, and I am also in this boat, Carolyn says she's a fellow recovering ice creamaholic.
I get it.
And I am too. The bowls just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I ate a bowl every night. I also got that quite naturally. When we say that things are, they're in your genes, it's hereditary. Eating ice cream is not actually hereditary. It's a learned thing that we pass down from generation to generation. We can't blame that on the genes, everyone. So.
No, you can't blame it on genes. And we would all sit around as a family and have ice cream together, and so it is a learned behavior. But
yeah, we blame a lot for that, and we don't look at it in that way. So let's go to the questions. So Jennifer says, there's a lot of information out there about plant-based diets being the best for health. How did you know that a ketogenic diet would be healthy for you?
Well, as it happens, I have two stepsons. One is vegan and the other is vegetarian, or he's pescatarian. He'll eat fish. But I'm watching them. I get to see it's a real life lab. And I don't like what they're doing. All this vegetarian stuff is coated in breading, and it's named after meat. Why not just eat the meat? And but I'm watching them, and I knew I didn't want to go that way. I see them struggle. They're always hungry. Always hungry. I mean, they just can't fill up. I had 2 pork chops for lunch, and I'm not hungry yet. So. Thin pork chop. I don't want people think I was eating one of those big doubles, but yeah, I just knew. I knew from firsthand experience how that was going, and I didn't want to be part of it. So, did that answer?
Yes, it did, and I want to kind of carry on with this this theme just a second before I get to the next question. Is that I know this, but the people watching don't know this. Is that your wife is a nurse who is very well ingrained in the teachings of the SAD diet. And it's interesting, you were telling your story that she's the one that said, that's it, she's doing it, she's going NSNG. Oh, and by the way, NSNG is Vinnie Tortorich's no sugars, no grains, for those who are joining us and don't know that. And so it was quite a transition for her. Was that kind of the final straw for you? Like, I'm holding on to this knowledge that all of these doctors have been telling me all along, but now, my wife, a medical professional, has decided to switch?
Well, she has a lot of influence on me, and she has a vested interest in my health. She said for a long time throughout her career, this diet is wrong. She said, she was a cardiac care nurse, and people come in, the nutritionists would come in and say, well, you can't eat eggs anymore, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't, and she said, but that's not true. Dietary cholesterol is not what's causing your problem. Well, It is, but it's not some of the things that we were told about. And oops, sorry. So she was always skeptical about that, and was pretty easy. And actually, she based it on the results that you had, and the weight loss. She said, I'm just going to do it. It's one thing to know this cognitively. You can read and do all the research, you can do all that stuff, but until you make the commitment and say, okay, I'm going to do it, your life's not going to change. You'll be smarter, but your life's not going to change until you make that happen. So
yeah, I agree. You can see the things you can. That goes for any dietary choice that you want to make. You can see it and read it and know everything you want to know about it, but until you try it for yourself to know how it works for you, you're not going to get the feedback that you need.
Right.
So, yeah.
I was in training and development throughout the military, and then afterwards, it's my second career. And I used to hear people say, well, I can't do that, and I can't do this. Well, the words can and can't deal with capability. And if you are resourced and you are educated, you have everything you need. You're skilled. If you change those words to I choose to, or I choose not to, those are words that deal with motivation. And you can make a choice, choose to do something or choose not to do it, but there's going to be a consequence either way. I chose to adopt NSNG. I cut out sugars, I cut out grains, and I'm happier for it. So.
And that's just totally amazing that's the wording. I've done that before myself. Like somebody will say, I can't have that. And I'm like, no, I choose not to have that. Like,
yeah.
The donut thing that you talk about. Oh, just have one donut. You'll love it. It's going to be great. No, I know for me that's not an option, and I'm choosing not to. I know what it tastes like. I've had a donut before. I've lived that life, and I know what it does for me. My choice is to not do that because I care about what I eat and how I use that in my body. Right. It's a very important distinction. And we've actually talked about it here on the podcast before, where somebody said they felt very selfish. Our guest, Jen, she said she felt very selfish for making some of these decisions. And yeah, I guess it is a little bit selfish. You are choosing to do something for yourself.
Yeah.
But the whole decision for that, it flows out for everyone else around you. If I can be my best self, and if Jen can be her best self, and if you can be your best self, that's better than that donut every single time.
Absolutely.
Let's go for more questions.
Okay.
The next question is from Matt. He says, what are some of your triggers, and how do you keep yourself in line?
Well, ice cream is still a trigger. I mean, I haven't eaten it, but I would love to have some. But it's like you just said, I choose not to eat that way. And I just tell myself, no, I don't need that. In fact, I took a granddaughter to a frozen yogurt place and got her what she wanted. And I got a little cup of it just to taste. It was horrible. I said, well, I don't need this. So, I didn't finish it. I just, I threw the rest of it away. And it's a change of mindset. Once you've made that change of mindset, it's a lot easier. So I'm not tempted by a whole lot of stuff. No. We had friends come to visit. And just a little aside here, we had friends come to visit, and they bought a pack of oatmeal raisin cookies. It must have had 20 cookies in them. And there were 24 cookies in there. And every time they walked by and they had one. And we didn't touch them. They would say, how can you not eat these cookies? Because we choose not to eat them. And they went out and bought a whole bunch of protein bars because we took them on a hike and they needed, I'm getting hungry. I better eat a protein bar. Well, it's a candy bar. And I choose not to eat them. So, we were eating beef sticks and nuts and they couldn't get over that. So.
And what's funny about that is that they're watching you. They see you. They see that you're successful and that you're not hungry. You didn't come home and crash. You didn't come home and have to stuff your face. You came home and just did whatever it was you were doing. And they're not making the connection that it's the food that you put in your mouth versus the food you put in yours.
They have acknowledged it. They have acknowledged the way we're eating has really worked for us. But they are still at the stage where they're saying, but we can't do that. So.
Yes, the I can't do it stage. I think everyone here has been in that stage. And let's address this. You were in that stage for quite some time. You're a man of a certain age and have decided that it's not too late to go ahead and make this change for yourself.
No, I guess I started this at 69 and I'm 72 now. So, it's never too late. You just have to make the commitment.
And I love that about this story, that it's never too late. And while you have some health issues that you're still dealing with, so many other things are resolved or resolving. Those triglycerides for one, that's motivation in and of itself to keep yourself going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I look at my numbers. I wrote them down, I think, somewhere, and I look at them periodically and say, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm doing good.
Right. And that's something to live for. And having this concept in your mind where I'm going to live my life till the end, instead of having this, I'm going to be bedbound or in and out of hospitals or having treatments and constant care. We've evolved our medical system to keep people alive, but are they living? And that's the question that you are answering.
Yeah, that's a big question. And, Susan and I walk 20 miles a week. It's our goal. We do 20 miles a week. Right now, we can't go hike in the mountains too much. There's a lot of snow up there. And we do have snowshoes, but we just haven't made the trip up. But we still walk. Every day. We go out every day. So.
All right, more questions from our guests. From Tim, how long did it take for you to no longer miss the foods that you gave up?
Oh, there's a sliding scale there depending on what the food is. But I would say by and large, 3 weeks to a month. But you kind of have to know my personality. I am a type A plus guy. And if I set my mind to something, we're going to do it. So probably 3 weeks to a month before I was completely over that hurdle.
I'm very familiar with that personality.
Yeah.
And may or may not have that attribute myself. So totally get it. Our friend Jen asked, what change have you found in your energy levels? Have you found that you want to be more active or want to try new activities?
Well, I've tried a lot of activities that I probably should leave behind. And I have 455 parachute landings and about an hour and 20 minutes of free fall time in my jumping career. But yes, I have a lot of energy. And I see a lot of people my age who can't do what I can do. And I have been told that I don't look like I'm 72 years old to them. So which kind of feeds your ego and keeps you going a little bit longer. But, to be able to go out and walk 20 miles a week and hike hills and do all that kind of stuff, it's pretty awesome to be able to do that.
And it's not springtime there yet, so you can't try very many new activities.
Well, we got to get through mud season first. The snow's melted, everything turns to mud.
That makes it more adventurous to slide down the mountains rather than just walk. So I want to actually go back to some of the stuff that you were talking about before, when you were talking about your family members who are vegan and vegetarian. What do you do while you're with them? Do they have any questions, concerns, doubts, whatever about how you have chosen to eat?
No, I think we respect each other. They have chosen, one to be a vegetarian, the whole family is vegetarian, the other is vegan, and that is their choice. And they have no problem. They've never expressed an issue about we eating differently to them. So I think that's a big deal. We don't try to force each other's diets on each other. We're very respectful of those boundaries, and we're all free to do what we want to do. So it's a non-issue.
I think that we have more in common than we do differences, even though we don't approach it the same way. Just that thought that we do need to change what we eat. Like, the concept is there that it's got something to do with our food. Their approach is just different than our approach, but we kind of have the same idea.
Well, yeah, exactly. And they do this for ethical reasons. I get it. And that they chose, it's just what they choose to do, and we're choosing to do what we choose to do. And we're still a big happy family. Well, unless they're listening in, we'll find out later.
They may be listening, and you may be, then you get a night off from beans, and you can have your pork chops, and that will be fine.
Yeah.
Everyone, we still have plenty of time if you want to ask more questions. We've run through the questions that are in the chat. I think everybody's enjoying listening to you, Dad. So let's go back to some other things. Where I talked about in the beginning is that you are my success story. We talk about in the community quite frequently. I love this lifestyle. This is perfect. I'm finding so much health, and I just wish I could help so-and-so in my family see the light and do the things that I'm doing. And so I'm telling them, and then we go back and we say, you can't force anyone to do anything. You had to make the decision on your own, and they need to make the decision on their own. But then you also talked about Aunt Angela, who has been observing. So how has that worked out? Did you feel like this was forced upon you? What process did it take for her to kind of jump on board? Our story of having family members spider out from Matt and I are kind of the central, and then it spiraled out from there, is very rare. So it makes sense to us because we're in it, but so many other people struggle with family members being on board as well.
Well, you can't force somebody to do any of this, but you can model the behavior. So you just be yourself, model the behavior, eat the way you choose to eat, and people are going to ask questions about it. Be factual, be educational, educate them. They're curious. People are curious about this, and we've got a lot of questions from people, and but modeling the behavior is the big thing. People watch what you do. Those friends that I talked about, they watched everything we did, and we had another set of friends here. When they got home, the husband went and got a bowl of ice cream, and wife said, "Didn't you learn anything in Boulder while you were there?" Excuse me. So, so people are watching you, and they're seeing your success. They just haven't committed yet. And and if they're asking questions and stuff, they're interested, they're thinking about it. Just be there for them, be encouraging, and model the behavior.
I think that's great. That is usually what I say. And I know every single person who has followed this lifestyle and seen great benefit for themselves wants to stand on top of that mountaintop and scream it and just say, do this. It's the best thing ever. You're never going to regret doing it. But each person has to just make that decision for themselves and modeling the behavior. That is exactly it. Just always, if you're staying consistent because it works for you, then somebody's going to see it, and you don't know who's going to see it, but somebody's going to see it, and they might not even tell you that they're dabbling in it. And then 6 months later, they're like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 6 months and I've lost X amount of weight and my numbers have gone down and everything's wonderful. So for all of you out there that have somebody who you really care about, that you really wish would try it, just keep going. Let that be your motivation to keep going. They're watching you. They're going to see it.
Yeah, don't beat them on the head with it. You know, if that doesn't work. Just be there. Just you're providing an example, and you don't know who else you're reaching. There's somebody else standing there watching you. You know, it's they'll come up and ask the question. All right, what have you done? How are you doing this? So.
Yeah, every time you see that window, if somebody asks the question, just feed a little bit of information. Don't overwhelm them with information. Feed them a little bit of information, and little by little chip away at that. And that I think a lot of people are changing that. We don't necessarily see. They don't want to admit that they were listening to you. Some people are vain enough. They don't want to admit that they're listening to you.
Yeah, I've I know when Aunt Angela was interested and then, and she talked to me, and I said, there's some good documentaries out here you might want to watch, and you don't have to force people to do it, but this would be really interesting for you because, eating the way you're eating now isn't, it was a script from the 50s and 60s. There's different viewpoints out there. So, and I was happy to talk to her. And so it's Susan. So, it was really dramatic with Susan. She really looks good.
Yes, absolutely. My stepmother is a little bit more shy and she has a fantastic story, but I don't know that we could convince her to come on, but y'all just know she's doing really well. I have another question here.
Okay.
It's from Jen, and it is, how do you approach the people who want you to just eat the donut?
Well, you got to stand firm, and you're going to upset them. But at some point, if they keep persisting, you're just going to have to say, no, I choose not to eat that. That's all. You don't owe them an explanation. No. I choose not to eat that. If they're insulted, that's their issue. That's not yours. Your issue is that they're trying to force food on you that you don't wish to eat. And it's just, that's tough to do sometimes, depending upon your personality. But you have to stand your ground. You are your own best defense.
For any of these people who know me, and Jen is one of them, that she's probably going, I've heard Robyn say that exact same thing to me.
Is
so
that right?
Everybody, you can know right now exactly where I get this from, because my mentor, my dad, is right here. So you can see I'm not making it up. It was passed down. Oh, another question has come in, but I agree with you. You got to be firm. And you have to understand that people might not understand, and they're going to question you, and whatever insights they have negative towards that behavior it's a reflection on them, because they don't want to do it. They're watching you do really well, and they don't want to do it, so they're going to make it sound like you're doing something wrong.
Right. But you're being assertive. And you can be assertive without being aggressive. So you can assert yourself and just say, no, thank you, but I choose not to eat that. Period. And you own it. And that way, nobody can argue with you. I choose not to. I am being accountable for myself. So that's how I feel about that.
And it's not selfish.
No, it's not selfish. No, it's not selfish at all.
No, you are protecting your values and your goals, and that is important. Another question from Tim. How did you handle the adversity of eating something you shouldn't have eaten when you were still learning this way of eating? So like, did you feel guilty or anything like that if you decided to kind of eat off plan?
Um, no, I did not feel guilty. That's not the word I would use. I was, there are times when I was just like frustrated with myself, and I would just say, okay, I can choose not to do that again. So, um, pardon me. Yeah, I get frustrated with myself sometimes, but if you get off plan, you can choose that moment after not to continue that way. And every day we get a do-over. So you wake up in the morning, you got a do-over, so you can just, okay, today I'm going to do better.
Oh, I totally spelled questions wrong, you guys, but I'm doing two things at once. Please forgive me. So, and that is the perfect answer to that question, in my opinion. Every day you get a new day to start. And I say this quite frequently, there's no bad day to have a day one. Don't say, I ate off plan. I made a plan for myself. I ate off plan. I had a piece of cake because I was celebrating with my kids. It was their birthday. But on Monday, I'll start over again. Just start at the next meal.
Yeah.
Just restart. Move on.
I've eaten birthday cake. We got a lot of birthdays here with children and grandchildren, but I don't eat a big piece of birthday cake anymore, but like a really small slice, and Susan and I will split it just enough to say, yeah, we tasted it, and then we're done. And it's just different. I'm a couple years into this now, so it's easy to walk away from those things. It's not difficult at all.
Yeah, and for like I used to do that too until I realized I had a thyroid problem. So now I don't eat gluten at all. And that's my protection on myself. I won't eat it, but because I have something going on. So not everybody has that. If you're addicted to the sugar and you know that one bite of that sugar is going to take you off the rails, that's where that standing strong for your values comes in.
Exactly. That's you are being good to yourself. You're not being selfish. You know what you need to do for you. Just do it. You don't owe anybody an apology or an explanation.
No, and I hope everybody here hears that, because I think that's a common theme and a common question is that we do tend to want to please other people, and often at our own expense. Mm-hmm. And it's important to understand that you can hold yourself with as much value as you hold the people around you who you love. And make the decisions that will keep you in a good place and keep you where you want to be.
Yeah, I'm valuable. I'm worth something. I'm worth preserving. This is how I choose to do it. Don't feel bad about saying no and hurting somebody else's feelings. They just aren't educated yet.
No, they will. Let's hope they will. Do you have any books or any of the documentary? Do you know any of them offhand? Anything that you've watched that or read that has been very influential to you?
Oh man, I watched Fat Too Sugar. There was a bunch of them. Books. We always have stuff here. We have stuff here from all the people that and talk about, Palmer and all that. I read Rick Johnson's book because he's a uric acid expert. It all boils down to the same stuff, really, and eating. We choose to eat more meat than others, but just the stuff that's out there. It's. I've read some stuff that, and I can't remember this author's name. I read something recently. It was like getting a graduate degree in microbiology in about 3 chapters. And I said, I don't know that I can finish this because and Susan's a nurse. I said, what do these words mean? She said, I don't know. And you put them all together like that, I don't have any idea. So, but there's a bunch of stuff out there. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I could go out in the living room if you'd like and look at some titles, but we got them stacked up out there.
No, that's all right. I'm the same way. I have a whole bunch of books sitting behind me now, and I'm always handing them out and never getting them back. So I'm working hard to build my library and then giving them all away. But I want to spread that message as much as I can. But if you do remember any of them, let me know. And when I repost this, I can put some of those titles in the description so people know where they can go.
Yeah, I can do that.
So, well, we're almost near the end, and all of the questions that were in the chat have been answered. So usually at this time, I ask where people can find you, but as I have explained to everyone, he doesn't have any socials. So if you want to talk to my dad, you can talk to me, and if you have a question for him, I can pass it along.
You know what? I'll give an email address. It's rob.harris5712@gmail. If you have a question, I'll be happy to answer it. And no, I'm not on socials. That's just not my thing. And
and that is okay. You don't need to be there. It's a crazy world, and that is totally fine. But I do end each of these podcasts with the same question for everyone. So I think you've prepared yourself for this. So let's see if you've got it. Ready? If you have one piece of advice for someone who is just starting to navigate their health journey, what would it be?
It's two pieces of advice. The first one is find someone who will support you through this. Have an accountability partner. I think it's hugely important that you have some place that you can go to, someone you can go to and say, hey, I'm struggling today. Or, hey, I want to celebrate today. I've lost another pound. But have that person in your life. And the second thing is learn to read food labels. It is insidious the way sugar, high fructose corn syrup, is hidden in food labels. Because if it's not sucrose, it doesn't need to be listed on the food label. You know, all this no sugar added stuff, when you read down through there, it's got all kind of crap in it. You know, if it looks like a chemistry experiment, you probably shouldn't eat it. Those are my two big pieces of advice, I think.
It seems to me we used to have this rule of thumb that if you couldn't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat it. And now that stuff is everywhere. You can't pronounce any of the things, and you can barely read it. It's too many letters in one word, and people are stuffing it down their throats like it's the best thing ever.
Yep. You know what? Shop on the outside aisles. Don't have to go up and down the aisles. Just, shop on the outside. That's where all the good stuff is.
That's a bonus piece of advice. So that's 3 pieces of advice.
I'm full.
You're not the first one to answer with multi-questions. Our friend Tim that's been asking you questions. I asked him that when he was on, and he had like 15 different answers. So there's always a good piece of advice out there to share to help people along. Well, Dad, I appreciate you coming on so much. Thank you so much. I know this is a little outside of the norm, and you have family visiting, and you took an hour out of your day to come join us and share your story. So everyone who has joined us tonight, thank you so much. Please remember to share our channel, and you can comment on us. We have our own page on X at Less of Me Stories. Talk to us. Dad said he thinks that everyone needs an accountability group. Scott and I are very much on board with that. If you find that you don't have someone that you can talk to, reach out to either one of us. Both of us have a link tree on the YouTube page, and we both have X. We both have Instagram. We're both on Facebook. If you need someone, reach out to us. We are happy to be your accountability partner. And anybody here in our group, if you feel the same way, put that in the comments that you want to be somebody's accountability partner. So we don't all have the luxury that I have, where we're doing this with our spouse, and I understand that, and that is hard. I want all of you to have someone you can go to, someone you can talk to, because we want to see everyone find success. Thanks again, Dad. I really appreciate you coming on, And we will see you guys not next Thursday, but the Thursday following. And Scott will be back also. So we can't wait to see you then. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.